Bernard Jackman is with us this morning. It's a fair point, really, that for Leinster for this season, Bernard, to end with nothing would be a bit of a disaster, whereas for Munster, given everything that's gone on there, victory this weekend would be an absolutely sensational and brilliant thing. And you can kind of see that one team might be able to play free of fear and the other team might feel a little bit inhibited this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how Munster perform, given the departure of Felix and Jerry. Will they go deep into the well and pull out one of those, I suppose, performances full of emotion and passion that they're famous for? We've seen less and less over the last 2 or 3 years. To become more processed, more structured. But I also think Munster, when their backs against the wall, when they've got a real chip on their shoulder, that's been when they've been very good. And we saw it in December in Thomond Park when they beat Leinster. I had a look at that game last night, just picking out some clips on it, and they matched Leinster, maybe outdid Leinster in terms of aggression and physicality, and Leinster's discipline went, but also tactically they were very smart. They attacked the breakdown at the right time. They had a couple of strike plays that caught Leinster on the hop. They were brave. Keith Earls got an intercept try, which is reminiscent of O'Driscoll in that 09 game. But that's being brave in defence as well, and taking a risk. And they kicked well and they kicked often. I think that's going to be interesting. I think if you try what Leinster did against Saracens was they tried to, I suppose, outrun Saracens and keep ball in hand, and Saracens' defence was too strong. And likewise, I don't think Munster's attack is good enough to outplay Leinster's defence. So I think they need to be very, very smart in how they vary their play and try and find space in behind. And they did it very well in Thomond Park. It's 5 months since then, but if they can bring a real level of intensity, Leinster are under massive pressure. They're going to be sore, hurting. I think physically that game against Saracens took a lot out of it. Munster have had 2 weeks to prep. So if Munster can bring it, Leinster are going to have to match it. And as you say, Munster really have nothing to lose, but I think they have a lot to gain as well.
When it comes to that game you're talking about around Christmas, when Munster brought that physical intensity, which clearly went to a level that they've been at only a couple of times this season, do you think it's something that they can get back to once again? Is it something that perhaps they were lacking against Saracens, or what's your thoughts on that?
No, I think against Saracens they were just outplayed. They just didn't have the power to stand up to Saracens. In actual fact, it was only down to their unbelievable resilience that at half-time it was 12-9. I mean, that game, it felt for me like it was a 25-point lead at half-time, the way Saracens had dominated. So it wasn't that caused them. But I think it'll be interesting to see if the team, and particularly Peter Manny and Keith Earls, those guys have been there in the past and know what Munster dressing room looks like in the week of a game where they're going to bring in something special. I think there's a lot of loyalty and respect for what Jerry and Felix have given Munster, and that's why I think potentially they will get that balance right and I suppose pull a rabbit out of a hat, really, because I don't think their attack is good enough to win this game against Leinster on a normal day, but they got to make it an unnormal day in terms of being able to, I suppose, dig a little bit deeper than they normally do.
Sorry, Jerry, is that down to the personnel that they have on the pitch, or is there something tangible there that the new attack coach, when they come in at the end of the season, can actually work with the resources that are already there and make that attack better?
Yeah, I think they could probably do with some reinforcements. I think when Carby and Earls don't play, they've looked a little bit shy of X Factor. And to be honest, your attacking structure is important, but if you don't have players who can see opportunities or beat a man or have electric pace, well, then it's very difficult. And at the moment, you would say they don't have a lot of confidence in their attack. That's been spoken about. I was spoken at the week of the Benetton game. And when players are admitting that publicly, it's very difficult to pull out a really good attacking performance, because generally that's stuff that's built up in pre-season and week to week. So at the end of the season, when players are saying, look, our set piece is good, our defence is very good, just our attack isn't strong, it's unlikely then it's going to be a weapon for them, unless the opposition don't defend well. And Leinster historically this season, or for the last 5 years, have been very strong defensively.
I don't understand why it's such a big disparity so the odds have Leinster 8-point favourites, and it seems to me like it's a much closer game than that, because of the circumstances of where in the season this game is coming for Leinster, because of the rest that Munster have had, because they just have so much riding on it. Am I wrong about that? Is this not a much closer game?
I think it should be a much closer game. I think that's generous. That's probably based on how dominant Leinster were in the league stages. You know, they had the league won with 5 games to go. But I mean, that's probably more testament to Leinster's strength and depth than how much better their first team are than Munster's first team on a given day. So like that's Leinster were able to pick up a lot of points in the Six Nations and November because their squad depth is so good. So I think it'll be closer than that. I think this will be an incredibly tight game. It's obviously, if Munster can win this, it wouldn't just get them into a final and break that run of semi-final losses. It would also, you know, do serious harm to Leinster and their confidence. And you know, historically Munster players have loved doing that, and Leinster players have loved trying to do that to Munster. So there's a real edge to this, and it's got massive consequences. I think for both teams, to be honest. I think if Munster go out and don't play well, you know, obviously then there's the uncertainty around our coaches. It just makes it so much harder for them to build for next season.
When it comes to the Ireland national team, one of the big talking points after the Six Nations was how our 2 talismans in the halfbacks were just, their form was a little bit disastrous, according to some people. It was poor, if you want to put it lightly, and we were wondering when Conor Murray and Johnny Sexton would come back to themselves. Since their clubs have come back into play over the past 8 weeks or so, how have they been playing in your view? How close are they to the peak of where they were at in 2018?
We've seen glimpses of. I think Johnny hasn't played enough to judge him. Obviously, he was very good against Toulouse, and then he hadn't really played until we saw him against Saracens. You can't judge. I don't think you can judge Conor Murray or Johnny Sexton too much this season, because unfortunately they've been behind teams, packs who've been beaten up. Not set piece wise, but in general play, they just haven't been getting over the gain line. They haven't been creating light and quick ball, and they're getting absolutely smothered. And I think it'll be interesting this week because, you know, they're very similar teams in terms of power output. And Leinster historically have been able to get win the battle of the breakdown, bar that game against Munster in Thomond. But, you know, if Munster get front foot ball, Conor Murray will have a great game, and likewise for Leinster with Johnny Sexton. I wouldn't have worries about their form, really.
If you were coaching Munster going into this game, Bernard, knowing everything that we know about where the relative strengths of the 2 teams are, what is the game plan? Can you steal anything from Saracens, or is Saracens a unique situation where they have the big bruisers in defence and the big bruisers in terms of ball carriers, as well as all of the other skill sets that they have, and you can't really just...
Yeah, there's no way Munster can copy Saracens. I don't think anyone can. They've been doing what they do for a long time, and they have players who do it incredibly well, who've been, I suppose, hand-selected from across the world and brought through their own academy, in fairness. So, but I think what Munster need to do is look back at that game in Thomond Park, where they kept their discipline, but yet played right on the edge of the laws. They frustrated Leinster. They exposed something we hadn't seen in Leinster for a long time, where, you know, they lost their cool a little bit. And as you know, they got set piece dominance to kick to the corner and maul Leinster over, which was a huge psychological blow. When they got penalties on the 40, they kicked their points. And as I said, they had a lot of little smart kicks in behind. And we know Leinster put 13 in the front line. They exposed that space in the backfield, and that's something, whether it's through the 10, kicking off 10, whether it's through kicking off 12 or kicking off Conor. It's not a case of just kicking box kicks. I think there's got to be a variety to their kicks. But if they do that, they won't lose energy. So what you saw on Saturday was Leinster losing energy by carrying the ball, and Saracens getting confidence and momentum. And that's normally how Leinster defend. And teams who try and carry the ball against Leinster, they lose energy and lose confidence. So I think Munster have to kick well and kick often.
Who's going to win?
I think Leinster will win, but I think it'll be incredibly tight.
All right, Bernard, great stuff this morning. Thanks a million for joining us.